Hello, resilient souls and seekers of unshakable peace. Have you ever felt that? That pang in your chest when you see a message has been viewed but not answered. The subtle shift in a boss's tone of voice that leaves you anxious for the rest of the day. The silent comparison you make scrolling through someone else's feed, feeling that your life, in some way, isn't enough. These aren't trivial feelings. They are the vibrating bars of an invisible prison in which most of us live, the prison of external validation. Now, imagine, with all the clarity you can muster, a different kind of freedom. A freedom where criticism becomes mere background noise, where the approval of others is a pleasant bonus but never a necessity, and where your inner peace is a fortress. This isn't a utopia. It's the result of deep inner work, a path mapped by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. His promise to those who dare to tread this path is absolute. Nothing and no one will affect you again. Stay with me, because on this journey, we won't just admire the final destination. We'll build the map to get there, together. Understanding your social mask, the persona, to understand why we are so affected by the world. We first need to understand the identity we present to it. Jung called this the persona. The persona is your social mask. It's the self you've constructed to be acceptable, to be loved, to fit in. It's the competent, professional, the fun friend, the obedient child, the responsible parent. It's your collection of traits and behaviors that work well in society. And there's nothing inherently wrong with a persona. It's an essential navigation tool. The problem isn't having a mask. The problem is forgetting you're wearing one. The danger is when the actor believes they are the character. When this happens, your self-esteem becomes completely dependent on maintaining that mask. You live with a constant fear of being found out, the fear that someone will see the cracks in your armor of competence and confidence. You become an anxious guardian of your own image, and anything that threatens that image, a criticism, a failure, a rejection, becomes an existential threat. That's why it hurts so much. You don't feel like your performance was criticized. You feel like you were annihilated. But for every brick we use to build the facade of our persona, a corresponding brick of rejected material needs to be hidden somewhere, and that place has a name. Welcome to the basement of your psyche. Welcome to the shadow. The shadow is everything you've decided, consciously or unconsciously, doesn't belong to your ideal self from childhood. The process begins. Boys don't cry. Girls don't get angry. Don't be selfish. Don't be lazy. Each of these messages teaches us to take an authentic part of ourselves, our vulnerability, our anger, our need for self-care, our desire for rest, and lock it away in the dark. The shadow, therefore, isn't necessarily evil. It's just repressed. And this is where the mechanism of projection enters spectacularly. Because the shadow longs to be seen, we see it everywhere except in ourselves. The most obvious projection is negative. That coworker you judge as lazy deeply irritates you because they might be expressing the rest you don't allow yourself to have. The arrogant person offends you because they display a self-confidence you've repressed out, a fear of being judged. You project your shadow onto them, and your intense reaction is your psyche screaming, "Look at this within yourself." But there's an even more subtle and powerful projection, positive projection. You know, when you idolize someone, a mentor, an artist, a public figure, you see them as perfect, courageous, brilliant. Often, what you're doing is projecting your own unrealized potential onto them. You're projecting your hidden gold into the shadow, your own courage, your own brilliance, your own beauty. You admire them in others because you haven't yet learned to recognize them in yourself. Whether through irritation or idolatry, the result is the same. You give away your power, shadow work, transforming lead into gold. So, how do we bring the shadow into the light? How do we stop giving away our power? Through a process Jung compared to alchemy, transforming the lead of unconscious reaction into the gold of consciousness. This is shadow work. Step 1, the sacred pause. The work begins the moment you feel activated. That sting of criticism, the wave of envy, the sudden anger. In this moment, your only task is to resist the urge to react. Breathe. Create a millisecond of space. This space is where your freedom is born. Step 2, the journal investigation. Later, in a calm moment, grab a notebook. This is an encounter with yourself. Write about what happened and answer these questions with complete honesty. Question 1, what exactly did I feel? Name the emotion without judgment. Anger, shame, envy, inadequacy. Be specific. Question 2, what story is my mind telling about this situation? X, he thinks I'm incompetent. She's ignoring me on purpose. Question 3. Where me does this characteristic or behavior that irritated me also exist, even if only by 1%? Where am I also? Or do I fear being arrogant, lazy, selfish? Be a detective of your soul. Question for positive projections. What do I admire so much in this person? How can I start to cultivate that same quality in my own life in small steps? Step 3. The crucial distinction. Integration is consciousness, not indulgence. This is the most important point. Integrating your anger doesn't give you the right to be aggressive. It means recognizing, here is this energy of anger. I feel it. What is it trying to tell me? Where was a boundary of mine crossed? Integrating your laziness doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities. It means asking, on my body, am I asking for rest? Am I on the verge of burnout? By integrating the shadow, you don't become a bad person. You become a whole person. And a whole person cannot be easily manipulated or knocked down. Anchoring in the self, your unshakable core as you. Practice this work, something magical begins to happen. Your identity begins to shift. It moves from the fragile persona and the reactive ego to a much deeper and more stable center. Jung called this center the self. Think of your ego as the leaves and branches of a large tree. It's the part of you that interacts with the world, that feels the wind of criticism, the warmth of praise, the rain of sadness. It's necessary, but it's the most unstable part of the tree. The self is the massive trunk and, more importantly, the deep, invisible roots that cling to the earth. The wind can blow fiercely, it can rip off some leaves, it can even break a branch, but the tree remains. Its strength is not in the absence of wind, but in the depth of its roots. Practicing shadow work is watering and deepening these roots each time you withdraw a projection. Each time you embrace a rejected part of yourself, you are anchoring yourself more firmly in yourself. You discover an internal center of gravity that doesn't depend on external weather conditions. You find peace in the midst of the storm, not in its absence. The promise fulfilled. Nothing and no one will affect you again. Nothing and no one will affect you again. Not because you will become cold, distant, or inhuman. On the contrary, you will become so profoundly human, so radically whole, that the world's attempts to diminish or inflate you simply will no longer find resonance within you. You will no longer have exposed triggers to be pressed. The journey we explored today, from identification with the persona to the encounter with the shadow, through integration and arriving at anchoring in the self, is the path to true personal sovereignty. It is about stepping out of the reactive audience of your life and taking on the role of conscious director. If this deep exploration resonates with the path you wish to follow, subscribe to the channel, for our journey is just beginning. And as a symbolic act of starting this work, leave a comment below with the word whole. Remember, the most liberating of all truths, the only approval you truly need, already resides within you. The work is merely to remove everything that blocks your access to it. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens.